welcome back to our channel. Today is a fantastic day to dive deep into the latest, most explosive drama unfolding in Genoa City. Grab your favorite cup of coffee, settle into your coziest spot, and let us walk you through the shocking twists and turns that have left us completely breathless. We have so much to unpack today, so let us get right into the heart of the story. The halls of Abbott Cosmetics are echoing with an eerie, unsettling silence, and the luxurious suites of the Grand Phoenix are holding a terrifying secret. Diane Jenkins Abbott, the woman who has survived countless scandals, corporate wars, and even her own fake death, has vanished without a single trace. The sudden, chilling disappearance of the Abbott matriarch has sent shockwaves through the very foundation of Genoa City, igniting a powder keg of paranoia, primal fear, and explosive violence. For 2 agonizing days, Diane has not shown her face at the office, her phone has gone completely dark, and her bed at the athletic club remains perfectly, terrifyingly made. The mystery of her whereabouts is not just a missing persons case. It is a psychological thriller that is rapidly tearing the Abbott family apart from the inside out. To truly understand the gravity of this disappearance, we have to rewind to the moments just before Diane vanished into the shadows. Diane was isolated in her hotel room, wrestling with the heavy, suffocating weight of her fractured marriage to Jack Abbott. It was in that lonely room that she suffered a visceral, horrifying nightmare that would shake any woman to her core. In this vivid night terror, Diane walked into the Abbott mansion only to find Jack living in domestic bliss with none other than the deeply unstable Patty Williams. But the nightmare did not stop there. In the dream, Patty gleefully gloated that she had never actually miscarried Jack's child decades ago, and that their long-lost daughter was alive, well, and living with them. The dream was a manifestation of Diane's deepest, darkest insecurities, the fear of being replaced, the fear of Jack's complicated past, and the ultimate fear of being cast out of the family she fought so desperately to reclaim. Shaken, sweating, and emotionally raw from this terrifying vision, Diane made a crucial, vulnerable decision. She picked up her phone and left a heartfelt, tearful voicemail for Jack. She confessed that she was deeply hurt by their recent conflicts, but she emphasized that her love for him was stronger than her pain. She explicitly stated her desire to move forward, to heal their wounds, and announced her intention to come over to the Abbott mansion to look him in the eye and fight for their marriage. It was a beautiful, raw olive branch extended in the dead of night. But in true, heartbreaking soap opera fashion, that message vanished into the digital void. Jack Abbott, consumed by his own chaotic battles, never heard the voicemail, he never received the olive branch. And Diane, waiting in agonizing silence for a response that would never come, interpreted his silence as the ultimate crow of rejection. Believing that the love of her life had completely given up on her and was intentionally ignoring her plea for reconciliation, Diane's heart shattered into a million pieces. The emotional paralysis set in, and she simply disappeared. She stopped going to work at Abbott. She abandoned her suite at the Grand Phoenix. For 2 full days, the world kept turning, but Diane Jenkins Abbott was nowhere to be found. Is she hiding out at a secluded luxury spa, licking her wounds and trying to piece her shattered ego back together? Or has something far more sinister, far more dangerous occurred in the dark corners of Genoa City? That is the terrifying question that is currently driving her family to the absolute brink of madness. The first person to sound the alarm was, of course, her fiercely devoted son, Kyle Abbott. Kyle is a young man who has already lived through the unimaginable childhood trauma of believing his mother was brutally murdered, only to discover decades later that she had faked her death. That kind of psychological scarring never truly heals, it just lies dormant. When Kyle realized that his mother had missed 2 consecutive days of work, a highly uncharacteristic move for the ambitious Diane, the dormant panic awoke with a vengeance. He rushed to her room at the Grand Phoenix, his heart pounding in his chest, only to find her bed completely untouched. The pristine sheets were a glaring, terrifying sign that something was horribly wrong. Kyle immediately went to his father, Jack, his voice trembling with a primal, unadulterated fear, declaring that this absence was highly unusual and that they needed to act immediately. But Kyle did not just stop at warning his father. Consumed by a blinding, desperate rage, Kyle's mind immediately raced to the one person in Genoa City who possessed both the motive and the historical instability to harm his mother, Patty Williams. Patty has been a chaotic, destructive force in the Abbott family's lives for longer than Kyle has been alive. Driven by pure adrenaline and the terrifying prospect of losing his mother a second time, Kyle tracked Patty down to her current hideout. What followed was a confrontation so violent, so out of character for the usually composed corporate executive, that it left audiences gasping. Kyle kicked the door in, his eyes blazing with uncontrollable fury, and violently pinned Patty against the wall. He physically assaulted her, his hands gripping her tightly as he screamed, demanding to know exactly where she was hiding Diane. In the face of Kyle's explosive violence, Patty Williams did what Patty Williams does best. She thrived in the chaos. Instead of cowering in fear or offering a straightforward denial, Patty maintained a chilling, defiant posture. She looked Kyle dead in the eye, completely unfazed by his physical aggression, and offered only a cryptic, maddening riddle. She smiled that eerie, unsettling smile of hers, hinting that she knew far more than she was saying, but refusing to give Kyle the satisfaction of a clear answer. This twisted reaction only fueled Kyle's terrifying suspicions. He stormed out of her hideout, his hands shaking with rage, absolutely convinced that Patty was either directly responsible for Diane's disappearance or was actively covering up a monstrous crime. While Kyle was resorting to physical violence in the streets, Jack Abbott was descending into his own personalized hell of paranoia back at the Abbott mansion. Jack was already on edge, completely unaware of the voicemail Diane had left him, when a highly disturbing package arrived at his doorstep. It was a beautiful, elaborate floral arrangement, accompanied by a cryptic, unsettling note from none other than Patty Williams. The note vaguely alluded to their past, hinting that she was keeping her distance for now but fully expected Jack to reach out to her soon. In a normal context, this might just be the rambling of a lonely woman, but in the context of Diane being missing for 2 days, Jack's mind immediately jumped to the most terrifying conclusion possible. Jack read that note and felt the blood freeze in his veins. He instantly misinterpreted the floral delivery as a twisted ransom note, a psychological taunt from a woman who has spent decades obsessing over him. Jack knows Patty's history. He knows that she has spent years in and out of psychiatric facilities, and he knows that her obsession with him has driven her to commit unspeakable acts in the past. Jack vividly remembers asking Patty to confirm that Victor Newman had paid her to interfere in his life, and he remembers how visibly annoyed Patty became whenever Jack mentioned his desperate desire to reconcile with Diane. Putting all these distorted puzzle pieces together, Jack has convinced himself that Patty Williams has kidnapped his wife in a deranged, desperate bid to ensure that Jack and Diane can never repair their fractured marriage. Let us take a moment to offer some honest, straightforward commentary on the people caught in this devastating web, starting with Diane Jenkins Abbott. If we are being completely honest, Diane is a woman who has often been her own worst enemy. She is a master manipulator who has played countless games in the past. But in this specific moment, my heart genuinely breaks for her. She is not scheming right now. She is suffering. She put her heart on the line, left herself completely vulnerable in that voicemail, and was met with a silence that she interprets as a cruel rejection. She is a victim of terrible timing and her own deep-seated insecurities. Her decision to run and hide is a trauma response, a desperate attempt to protect herself from the agonizing pain of a broken heart. Then we have Jack Abbott, the patriarch, who is rapidly losing his grip on reality. Honestly, Jack is acting like a fool blinded by his own history. If he had just checked his voicemails, this entire catastrophic misunderstanding could have been avoided. Instead, he is letting his historical trauma regarding Patty cloud his judgment. Jack is so quick to assume the absolute worst, so quick to jump to the conclusion of a kidnapping, because it is easier to blame a familiar monster than to face the possibility that his own marital failures drove his wife away. Jack's paranoia is dangerous, and it is blinding him to the simple, tragic truth of a missed phone call. And what can we say about Kyle Abbott? Watching Kyle descend into physical violence is deeply unsettling, but as a movie-loving friend, I have to say it is incredibly compelling character development. Kyle is a man reverting to his most primal instincts. He is a little boy terrified of losing his mommy again. The trauma of Diane's past fake death has severely damaged his ability to process her absence rationally. His assault on Patty is inexcusable, but from a psychological standpoint, it is entirely understandable. He is a son acting out of pure, unadulterated terror, willing to cross any moral or legal boundary to ensure his mother's safety. Finally, we must talk about the wild card herself, Patty Williams. Patty is absolutely fascinating. Is she genuinely insane, or is she the smartest person in the room? Honestly, I do not believe Patty kidnapped Diane. I think Patty is far too clever to commit such a messy, obvious crime right now. However, Patty is absolutely guilty of psychological warfare. She knows exactly how to push Jack's buttons, and she knows exactly how to infuriate Kyle. She is sitting back, sending cryptic flowers, offering maddening riddles, and watching the Abbott men tear their own minds apart. Patty has not changed. She has just evolved her methods. She is orchestrating chaos without having to lift a single finger against Diane. So, what is going to happen next in this gripping Genoa City saga? My prediction is that Diane Jenkins Abbott is perfectly safe, likely hiding out at a luxurious, secluded spa, completely unaware of the massive manhunt and the violent confrontations occurring in her name. She is probably sitting in a sauna, crying over Jack's perceived rejection. Eventually, Jack or Kyle will track her down, and the truth about the missed voicemail will come to light. But the damage will already be done. By the time Diane returns, Kyle will have to answer for his violent assault, and Jack will have officially declared a psychological war on Patty Williams. Patty is not a woman who takes false accusations or physical threats lightly. When she realizes the Abbotts are coming for her, she will unleash a wave of vengeance that will make her past transgressions look like child's play. The Abbott family is about to step into a trap of their own making. This storyline is an absolute masterclass in tension, miscommunication, and the devastating consequences of past trauma. We are on the edge of our seats waiting to see how the Abbott men will navigate the explosive fallout of their own paranoia. What do you think about Kyle's violent confrontation, and where do you believe Diane is truly hiding? Drop your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments below, and please share this article with your fellow soap opera fanatics so we can all discuss this incredible drama together.